Darlene Scott owns this quilt. It's a crazy patch. The quilt maker was Mabel Lang Rutherford, and the quilt was made in 1940, and you see at the bottom the date is embroidered on that navy blue block down there. The Crazy Patch quilt top was given to Darlene in 2009 by her friend Rosemary Lang Creed. It was found in Rosemary's aunt's house, and best guess is that the sisters of Mabel may have made it from the silk linens of coats and dresses. The year 1940 was hand embroidered in the corner. As to why this quilt was never backed, one can only guess. From the wear of the edges, I believe it may have been used just like it is on those cold winter nights in their old, cold two-story home. I'd like to add a story to that. See the back of this? Never backed. There were quilts. My grandma had this saying, we saved that for good. She could have something for 50 years that looked new because it came out when there was company. This quilt, I'm guessing, would have been a summer cover for good. When company was coming, you would lay that over what you actually slept under. No one ever probably slept under this. Then the quilt was folded and put away again for when company shows up again. But it is a summer way. When you see deterioration of this type, that's not from using it and wearing. That's because these fabrics and the dyes in this fabrics do deteriorate over time. If this had been lovingly put away, that would have happened anyway. That's just the type of dyes they were using. And so it's in wonderful, wonderful condition. My car's parked right out. Those
easy to
not
get.
gonna work.
Have to find her car.
Right.
She's never satisfied.
This quilt was made by Vonna Cole. It's called Ring Around T-shirt. It was made in 2009. Pieced and quilted by Vonna. Vonna directed handbell choirs for 32 years. And from 1991 until 97, she served on the area and national boards of the American Guild of English Handbell Ringers. The T-shirts were worn by Vonna while she attended handbell conferences and seminars in several states. One of the shirts was worn at an international symposium where she rang handbells with people from several different countries. The triangles of T-shirt fabric around the border represent handbells, and the small bars represent hand chimes, thus giving it the name Ring Around Quilt. It's truly a memory quilt. Vonna taught a T-shirt workshop for us, and Darlene has a T-shirt quilt in the sanctuary, and I know there are some other quilts in the process of being made. But you know, it takes years to save up your shirts if you've never saved them for a T-shirt quilt. So she did a good job keeping track of her T-shirt quilts. Okay. I'm okay. I gotta get a drink. Truda Seidel owns this quilt. Truda's a member and lives in what county? Muskingum County, east of Columbus. We have girls come all around to be in this marvelous group of people, and they all just add so much. The name of the quilt is Grandma Bromley's Apple Core. The quilt maker was Martha Ann Bromley. It was made in the 1930s. I remember many quilts at my grandmother's house in Flatwoods, Tennessee. After she passed at the age of 97 in 2005, I hoped I would get something to remember the many times I stayed at her house. As things were distributed, I got this quilt. At the time, I just wanted to put it away, keep it safe, while I found it. Looking at it now, the fabrics are faded, worn and fragile. Reminds me of 30s fabrics. I remember stories of the feed and flour sack fabrics that were repurposed by her. I'm happy to own and be able to display this quilt in my home now. It's mostly hand stitched, some machine stitching, and repairs. The batting is cotton wadding that my grandmother may have grown and harvested. If you're familiar with cotton wadding, that is a cotton that's just processed right out of the field. It's combed and the little husks are, sometimes you find a quilt like this, you'll feel those little cotton ball husks in there. But it makes for a heavy quilt, nice warm heavy quilt. Oh, you girls are fast. You're sorry. Darlene Scott owns this quilt. It's a double wedding ring. Quilt maker Esther Bauer and Pearl Bloom, who was Darlene's mother. It was made in 1980. This quilt was given to Vernon and Darlene Scott as 10th anniversary wedding gift in June of 1980. It was made by Darlene's grandmother and mother, hand quilted in a small little living room of her grandmother's 4-room house. Pieces are from leftover fabric from homemade clothes of the family. Now this is a memory quilt. In August of '95, this quilt was in a house fire. It has heavy smoke damage as it was on the bed at the time of the fire. It is still a legacy for Darlene's family even after 35 years.
I cherish every one of those little tiny stitches in there. I grew up under those quilting frames, and no one will ever know what that quilt means to me. If you get a chance to come up and look at the quilt, the quilting's just
Superb.
I'm tempted to put it on the bed that way, now that the other side is tinged down.
I wouldn't have a problem with the other side being tinged down either. I love it. This quilt belongs to Terry Stroop. The quilt maker was Elsie Townsley. It's made between 1925 and 1930. This quilt was constructed by my paternal grandmother from fabric samples carried by my grandfather, a salesman. The quilt is lined with feed sacks. My grandparents divorced shortly after the quilt was made, so this was one of the few things my father had from his father. Now let's look at the back of this one. Isn't that spectacular?
Yeah.
And my guess on this one is, this was keep it for good, wintertime. It's just like new, so it wasn't, and it was probably for that purpose though, and those weren't usually backed. No one was going to sleep under it and see the back of it.
But it's 80-something years old. This is good.
Moth-free.
Amazing.
Terry Stroop owns this quilt. It's a churn dash. Quilt makers, Ladies of Fayetteville Church of Christ in 1988. Several ladies at Fayetteville Church of Christ asked Irene Davis to teach them to quilt. Irene organized lessons at the church, resulting in creation of this quilt for a fundraiser at Mount Healthy Christian Home. When the blocks were completed and assembled, a quilt frame was set up at the church and the new quilters took turns at the frame. I had the opportunity to quilt one block and later purchased the quilt at the fundraiser. This is a very familiar pattern to all the quilters in this room. It has 28 different names. In our area, we call it churn dash, hole in the barn door, or monkey wrench. Different areas of the country call it other names, but that's in this locality. Norma.
In the 17th, 18th century, the government opened up land out west, so the pioneers got together and decided they would go west to purchase land. On the way there, the ladies made the blocks, pieced the blocks, and it was called Road to Oklahoma. Sherry made the top. We searched for I saw it in a book and I wanted it. So Sherry and I searched for the material so that it would look like the one in the book. And Sherry made the top, my daughter Sherry, and I did the hand quilting.
And it's beautiful.
This one's called Bear Claw. I saw the quilt and I wanted one, so Sherry decided to make me one. And she said, what color you want? And I said, burgundy and black. And so she made the top, and I quilted it. But I got this bright idea that I would quilt it black on black. I don't know why I had such an idea, because I would never ever do another one.
Top of the bear point.
I had just started working with prairie points, so this is my first attempt at double prairie points.
A lot of us.
And some of my quilts does not have labels if I've made them several years ago. But since I've been in the club, I've learned to put labels.
Or else.
Can't go back and put them on.
What are double prairie points? They lap over?
What are double prairie points?
Those around the edges.
Do they lap over or?
Put it back and put the information in.
This quilt, I probably shouldn't tell you too much about it because you'll figure out how old I am. I keep telling everybody I'm 16, but that's not right. 65 years ago when I was a teenager, my mom and sisters made this quilt. Mom was not a hand piece. She didn't do hand piece, or quilting rather. And so my sister and I did the quilting on a machine, and it was a treadle machine. She would sew a while, and then I would sew a while, till we got the quilt done. It's in pretty good shape. It's a little bit frayed at the top, but I haven't done anything with it.
And notice how close the quilting is too. I think that's something
Yeah.
amazing, because it did have the cotton in it, and to keep the cotton in place, you had to quilt things closely, otherwise they didn't. This is the one I want.
And she'll put a label on it if it's not on there.
I think she.
Yeah, it's got a label.
It's got a label somewhere. Right here. Yeah, there you go. Good job.
Most of our quilts we make now, we quilt the ear in the quilt, on the edges. This quilt belongs to my daughter Sherry. She and her mother-in-law in Alabama made the quilt. Her mother-in-law had glaucoma really bad, but she did all of the handwork on the flowers, and Sherry quilted it. She made this quilt for her son David, who's Sherry's husband, and everybody liked it so well that she had to make one for all of her kids.
Back's pretty too.
Yeah.
This is another quilt from Sherry. Her and her mother-in-law made it, and her mother-in-law did the butterflies, and she tried to make them the exact color that a real butterfly would be. She did the blocks, and Sherry did the quilting. My daughter Sherry does not quilt very much. She doesn't like it now, but she is a very good quilter.
I'd like to talk just a second about the labels. Any of your quilters are in a group that don't nag you about that, like I nag everyone? The things to put on your label. Your name of the quilter, name of the one that pieced the quilt, name of the owner, or the purpose. I give this to my son for whatever. The year, at least the year. I like to put Peebles, Adams County, Ohio on mine. We have seen so many orphan quilts that ends up in yard sales and estate sales because no one can claim them, they don't know who made them, and they don't care. But if those notes are on there, it's going to make it more valuable to a family. So if you're not in the habit of doing a label, think about that.
I might add that Sherry's mother-in-law
Sharon, could you come here?
did all this by hand.
And that's not machine embroidery, that's all hand
It's all
done.
hand pieced.
And the quilting is phenomenal in it.
Thank you, Norma.
See, there's a little.
We have an unfinished quilt on our bed. this afternoon.
These are my co-leaders, Marilyn and Sharon.
And Sharon is moving back to the city. Our group wanted to make something for her. It came back from the quilter today. We still need to put binding, so she can't have it. She can't unless she wants to bind it herself. But this high-paying job is difficult, sometimes stressful, most of the time really fun. And Sharon has been great with our group. She loves our group. She's probably come a ways with her quilting. We all learn from each other. And we wanted to give her something to, so she won't go to the big city and forget us out here in the woods. Cincinnati. Yeah. So this is on behalf of the quilt Sharon, or on behalf of the group. And we also, we have been in existence 5 years. Sharon started with us. She's a charter member and has been working with us this whole time. And we would like to give you a certificate for your 5 years work. Sorry, we can't give you a mega bonus since your salary was 0. So your bonus we calculated came out to 0. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you very much. That's absolutely beautiful, and I will always cherish it. Being in this group has just been such a joy in my life, and I have told you that so many times. I never wanted to leave this group without you knowing how much it has meant to me. It's been a gift in my life, and being co-leaders with these two ladies has just been so much fun. I mean, there has not been a crossword between us. We just they get mad at you. She's laughing. But it's just been a joy to be a part of this group, and I will take you with me in my heart, and I hope to come back from time to time and perhaps lead workshops and that type of thing. But this is a happy move for us. We're going closer to our family, and this has been a wonderful 10 years for us here, but we have plans to move on, and we've always had plans to move on. So thank you so much for taking me into your lives and giving me the opportunity to be a part of this group. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
I have a funny story about Sharon. We had never met until this, and the very first time we met, we were trying to come up, the 3 of us were meeting, we're planning on having a quilt group in Peebles, and we were trying to come up with a name. And we kicked around a whole lot of names, and I think Sharon was the one who said, what about Loose Threads? And we said, that would be great. So she goes to church the next Sunday. We're talking it up in the community, trying to get the word out that we're starting this group, and she says that she stands up in church to announce to the ladies of the church that we're going to have this group and tell them about the first meeting, and her husband reaches up and pulls off a loose thread off of her jacket. It was meant to be.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you, but we do have, drawings to attend to, yes. Wilma?
Did you?
Yeah, we're